All right, here is the video that you've been asking for that will change the outcome of your life. And I'm talking about your first real estate deal, because if you can get your first real estate deal done, you can build generational wealth for your family for many decades to come. So I think it is super important that you watch in detail how we're going to break down a deal step by step, all the way from the purchase price to the cash on cash and the distributions and the returns in the future. So you can go do a pro forma on your own deal and have knowledge on how to do this entire process, or what are the metrics you are looking for. So let's dive right into a deal that I have just kind of generically made up. But what this will do is I'll take the first thing first, and I will take the purchase price. We'll talk about how many doors are in it. We'll talk about the money needed to get down. We'll talk about different ways to get the money down. And then we'll talk about different revenue streams and how to build revenue with this new property. And we'll talk about all the expenses. And at the end, we'll talk about how this project performs with the current debt in these markets, because this is all interesting stuff right now. And I want you to build generational wealth. So let's dive in right now, go step by step. All right, guys, so here we have it. I have found a duplex, and these exist on the market today. There's you can find duplexes, I found out, anywhere from $150,000 all the way up to $1 million. Just depends where you're buying, of course, and what you're doing. But these are in the Midwest. Fargo, Grand Forks, North Dakota markets is where I pulled some of these from. I get it. Different markets, different areas, different rents to every market. So I just pulled a standard duplex, decent shape. It had 2 doors, of course, because it is a duplex. The great thing about that is if it's less than 4 doors, you can get conventional, or actually FHA financing, and don't have to do conventional where you need 20% down. And I'm not going to go into further detail with FHA, but basically you only need 3.5% down to close this deal. But in this common deal, I'm going to use conventional, an 80-20. You can get this financing anywhere you want on most residential loans. So that's what I used, is a conventional style loan. All right, conventional by here. Anyway, purchase price, $300,000. We have 2 doors. So basically $150,000 per unit. These are just some key metrics we want to see when we're doing our initial pro forma on the deal. Okay, guys, if we know we close this on an 80-20 conventional loan, we know we're going to need $60,000 down, right? And then you have to figure out your loan. You have to figure out what the rates are, right? So in this loan, I used a 6.5% loan. I think you can still get this in the market today. If not, bump it to 7, right? Like, banks are weary right now. It's not the topic of hot topic that everyone wants to hear about, but the 10 year's down right now. So hopefully our interest rates are reducing faster than normal pace as they went up faster than normal. So anyway, ran the deal 6.5%. We're going to do $240,000 because, of course, the 300 minus the 60 equals the 240. Guys, I came up with a loan of around $1,525 on this. So that is your loan payment using these terms. So we'll just put loan payment. And something I was not blessed with was handwriting. So you can leave down in the comments on how well my handwriting is, but I was blessed at doing real estate. So I'll take that over the over the writing skills. Anyway, so now let's talk about a revenue. So there's lots of ways to make revenue. Of course, we have rental of the place, right? We have 2 doors. So we have door 1 and door 2. Let's just say, to keep this simple, that these are the same style units. They're 3-bed, 2-bath, probably 1,500 square feet aside, probably have an attached garage, and very conventional for North Dakota terms, I guess, in a duplex and a rental. And let's just say each side gets $1,500. So I think that's about what market rate is for a half style newer product. Again, different markets allow different rents. If I were to tell you to go check on these from somewhere, figure out who is managing this property and ask them, say, what are comparable rents? Or go on apartments.com or just search the market. You'll see what the rents are in the marketplace. And, there's probably some rents in place if you're buying a duplex. So maybe track that they're under market, right? Like that'd be your first thing. Wow, both rents are $1,000, but they for sure should bring $1,500. Well, you're going to do anything you can to increase revenue. And I want to spend more time on that than I want to on the expense side. And I do that in business. I do that in anything I do. Increase revenue at all costs. Remember, expenses can only go to zero. Income can go to infinite. So we have a lot more delta in the revenue side. So say you have one unit that's not rented out. Well, maybe you can bring in a tenant, advertise this thing for, maybe do $1,600. Maybe you've gotten a lot of traction with it. Maybe you want to charge pet rent. Maybe there's no garage door opener. I always love this one. You can charge someone $25 a month for the garage door opener. And just say you charge them for a year just to get it paid off. But if you get, I'm just going to do, you know what? Getting used to my equipment here. Overhead opener. You know what? Tenants will pay $25 a month all day. Let's just say times that by 12, you're talking $300, and that's probably what the opener will cost you. So that tenant will pay for the operator, and you get an increase in revenue and an increase to your property, enhancement to your property. So pet rent, usually we'll do a $350. And in a duplex like this, you might want to even charge more. Like some of the apartments, they'll charge $500 non-refundable deposit. That's because pets wreck stuff. If they got two big dogs, like just plan on that place being fully destroyed in the flooring. So anyway, another way to make more revenue is maybe you charge back for utilities. So most likely you will probably be paying as the homeowner, probably, or as the building owner, you'll probably be paying, the water, sewer, the garbage, and the tax, and different towns kind of bulk those together. So if say the fee is annually or monthly, I guess maybe it's $50, charge the tenant $75, make an uptick on it. Like wherever you can get a delta, like figure that out. And if you can increase the revenue, then so be it. So a way you can take this a step further, and I just want to make sure that's right. There you go. $1,500, $1,600. So let's say we're getting $3,100 in rent. That's awesome. And then we maybe can charge out for some more of these, but I'm just going to use these as ideas for you guys. You want to maximize revenue. Another common one, actually, I want to include really quick is just washer dryer. Tenants don't have these. And if your building doesn't have them, or you're not including them in the rent, man, you can charge $100 a month for a washer and dryer. Charge $50. I mean, whatever. Charge something more than the freaking units cost, because there's maintenance to them. So, charge another $50 to $100. And if you can do that, like you will have some, you'll have some revenue sources that aren't really nickel and diming. It's just like amenities. Like tenants want amenities. Like give me the Starbucks drink and just include it in my rent. Then I don't have to pay for it because then it's free. It's like, well, not really, your parents are paying for that, but they don't know either. So, well, anyway, at all costs, increase revenue. You can Google as many options as you want. Here's a few that I want to include in this YouTube. But let's just say that we're collecting the total of $3,100 in revenue. Perfect. So let's get to the negative side of this. And one more thing about revenue, because there's a lot of midterm rentals and short-term rentals. So what a midterm rental is, say you're renting this out for maybe a nurse, a traveling nurse is coming to town, and they want to rent this place out for like 6 months or 4 months. Well, you know what? They'll probably pay $2,500 a month to move here for 4 months. So that's a lot more revenue if you can do it as a midterm rental. There's different niches that you need to meet to get yours. Like there's definitely people looking for shorter than 1 year leases. And I'm talking about, these are all long-term rental lease rates. But in a midterm rental, so MTR, you can figure about 1.25 times the 3,100. And when you do that, you could see what your revenue will do. All right, so 1.25 times 3,100, you're talking like a rental rate of $3,875. And this is fully occupied, right? We're going to get to the expenses because we all know that there's expenses in properties. Like, it's not all just rainbows and butterflies. But it even goes a step further. If you go into a short-term rental, so this is your VRBO, your, short-term stay. If you go into short-term rental, you can figure, like, I've heard 1.5 to 2 even. Like, let's just call it 1.75 times 3,100. That's $54.25 in revenue. That's up from 3,100, So that's a lot of revenue, because as we get through these expenses, of course, your expenses will go up being on a short-term rental, but your revenue explodes. And that's why the housing system is getting more unaffordable today, is because people are getting these short-term rentals, these investors, and they're exploding what valuation they can get from the product. So like, people are buying these houses way more because they're producing way more revenue. Remember, most assets are only worth what they make in revenue. The home market is just figuring out what someone will pay for it. But the short-term rental, it's all about revenue. And if you have a short-term rental that makes a lot of revenue, it's going to be worth a lot of money. So there is our revenue source. Again, I just wanted to show you some quick comparisons on a midterm rental and a short-term rental. But let's talk expenses, because this is the category that people can get hurt on because they don't track them right. They don't understand that. They don't know what expenses actually come up. And you can have anything. I mean, we can talk, electric, gas, and some of these you can farm out to the tenants, right? Not everyone does it. Let's talk, we got water. Usually sewer comes with that. Then we got, there's garbage. And we got, then there's repairs, always repairs to these things. Then we got, we got to pay for the insurance. What's insurance? And then we have our taxes. You can probably go on for days with these. And I just kind of explain each one of these because these are adjusting quickly. I'm going to just use these ones as the generic. Like, there's more. Like, we could write a list for probably all of today. But, there's maintenance, repairs, electric bills for these places, figure at $300, like, at least. Like, most places that have electric baseboard, some of these apartments can be sending $200. Like, it's incredible. And then you have gas that went through the moon earlier this year, but has seemed to calm. And especially in North Dakota, we like a lot of gas because we always are calling for heat. And it's not the funnest thing, but hey. Water, sewer. So your water, sewer, I don't know, let's figure another $100 because tenants aren't easy on water. Like install low flow toilets, install low flow shower heads, faucets. Like you can prevent some of this. But tenants are hard on everything. That's why they're tenants, because they can't afford to live on their own because they're too expensive. Then we got garbage, probably at least $50. Like I'd say for a duplex, 25 aside might even be light, but let's just stick with it. Now let's go into repairs. So how we figure out repairs is we really should go 10% of our income should be placed towards repairs. So if we have 10% here, we should have probably about $310 a month. And this can vary. If you guys buy an older property, needs everything, and you just put a tenant in there, like realize these tenants, like you got the tenants that like do stuff for themselves, usually in homes, like when you rent out a house. But like apartment tenants are like super needy. They have to do, you got to come and like do everything for them. And that's just the way it is. But, repairs can vary. In a townhome like this, like I would consider 10% medium. And by having the repairs at 10%, I think you're going to be safe at least there, right? Like, you can always consider more, but 10%, I'm going to say it's at least covering what you need to do each month. Insurance, well, this can be varying as, again, a lot of people in the South with all these hurricanes and natural disasters, there's flooding happening. Insurance is skyrocketing. In 2022, they had their biggest loss year on record. And we're having, records amount of snow. Like the climate's weird. Insurance is skyrocketing, and I don't see that lightening up. So again, that's going to be hiked up. Let's figure on a duplex at least at $100. I know for some of you in the South that might sound really light, but in the Midwest, you know what? It's pretty boring here. So we have the occasional snowstorm and call for a lot of heat, but we also have blessed with some very boring weather that we love too. So insurance is relatively cheap here. And then we have taxes. Oh my gosh. So has your house gone up in value in the last 3 years? By how much? I have some, a real estate transaction that happened to us. We have a property in my hometown, Thompson, North Dakota. It went up 49.54% in value. And then they come up with reasons why the increase in value. The market value has increased. Improvements to the property, which I just painted it. That's literally it. It was $5,000. New construction, expiration of exemption, change in classification or splits. So none of that happened. It was just literally she circled market value increases. Okay. So we're up 49.5%. So my valuation was 270 and now it's 405. So if you buy this duplex and it's at the county, it's right now it's 180 at the county and you're buying it for 300 and you're like, wow, this is a smoking deal. So when you go and buy that thing for 300, guess what the county is going to send you? A letter that the valuation has increased by, 50% or something there, some nature of that. So understand that in taxes. Don't go off the past history all the time because the past history was on the past valuation. Well, if that owner's owned it for 5 or 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, they're not right. And the counties know they're not right. So when they sell, they love that. Boom, raises all their tax dollars. So this is where the old tax man's going to get you. And it's in the property taxes. But I'm going to figure this one out at at $250. And again, keep in mind, these are all monthly expenses. So anyway, we have our expenses and we're going to total these babies up. And we're going to get $1,100. Not bad. You're like, geez, I'm making 3,100 and my expenses are only 1,100. Well, wait a minute. Remember, these tenants are probably going to have some overlap, which means there's going to be vacancy and downtime, right? Like, and there's tenant turns and there's all these things. But say like in a duplex, just because you only have 2 doors, if one guy moves out and you don't have a tenant to replace them, how occupied are you? 50%. That's a big problem. So when you do duplexes or fourplexes, smaller deals, plan on vacancy. Even if you're a single family home, like the thing's not gonna be 100% occupied for 10 years. Like don't kid yourself. So like get into the habit. I would say on a duplex or a single family home, use 80%. I would use 80%. In the big apartments, you can use 94%, 96. Like that's because there's a lot more doors to carry them while the others are vacant. So let's go 3,100 times 80%. And we get 24. So we got revenue, 3,100. Vacancy. Actually, and this is to be conservative, right? Like we want 80%. So our actual revenue, and I'm not saying this to be like mean or anything. It's just like, this is the truth. Like this is 2,480. So there's your income. Like we gave some really high valuations up here for midterm, but we didn't figure any vacancy. So let's figure in some vacancy. Let's get our income right. Now let's look at our expenses. $1,100. Now let's do the math here. 1,380. All right. Are you following me? 1,380. So that is the revenue. We're going to get rich. Well, no, you didn't pay for this thing in cash, right? Like you took out some debt on it. We talked about that. Like you're getting a loan for 240 grand. You're going to dump 60 into it. All right. So we have found our NOI, or our revenue amount, net operating income. This is basically all of your income minus all your expenses, net operating income. That is the determining factor of how much money this property actually makes in a monthly term. So you can times this by 12, figure out the annual, and that's how they base assets valuations. But let's take this a step further. We have another thing that we need to talk about. Let's talk about reserves. Super necessary because you know what? Them shingles will get old. The bathroom will need remodeling. You will need new furnaces. Things will come up, especially the older the property, the more things that will come up. And in reserves for duplexes, homes, I typically put them at $1,000 per unit. I'm not going to do that here. I think we can actually I'm looking at a little newer product. Let's charge about $500 per unit. So I want about $1,000 annually, which will break down. Let's just call it $85 monthly. And that reserve is basically your piggy bank. So we can take that off of the 13. We'll just say 1270. Oh, 95. Look at this. Said I was good at writing. Didn't I? And good with the iPad. Come on now. All right, so 1380 minus the 85 a month in reserves, we are going to come up with 1295. Now, the reserves is not paid as an expense. It's just paid as a piggy bank. So keep that in mind. You need to have a reserve account. Something is going to happen one day. Just it's literally a piggy bank. If nothing happens, well, hey, you are the lucky 1% and you will have nothing happening to your property. So let's talk about the next piece of this. We got debt. This is all before you actually make any money, by the way. It's like not fun till the end. And this deal is going to be painful. So let's just look at what deals are doing. So we have debt on the deal. We have $240,000 at 6.5%. And what did we say at the very beginning of this? $1,525. Oh, this isn't good. So I'm showing you a deal because I want to show you how bad the deals can get. So if we do 1525 minus the 1295, we're actually going to lose $230 a month. This is fun. I can't wait to do another one of these deals that I get to pay $230 a month into. So what we need to do, what this deal tells us is we're either overpaying for the deal because it doesn't support 6.5% debt. Because I'd say, let's do the same deal like where it was a year ago and we were doing 3.5% debt. I'll just show you like what happened. Well, if we do a 3.5%, our payment goes down to $1,075. Well, geez, now I'm positive. $1,295 minus $1,075. Now I'm plus $220. So it just shows us that every time this went up by a percentage point, we lost, you know what I mean? You're losing money. It's just the power of what this cheap debt costs. So here's what I would do. Here's what I do with this deal. You got a money winning deal at 3.5%. You have a money losing deal at 6.5%. So we like this deal. We got the 60 grand. And there's other creative ways to get the 60 grand. But in this deal, let's just say, you know what? You have the 60 grand. You're willing to contribute that. And you want to get the deal done. All right. Well, maybe now we can ask the seller. Let's say, hey, bro, this doesn't work. I'm losing $230. Do you have a loan in place on the property right now? And typically 90% of the time, usually on these duplexes, unless it's a very old owner, they probably do have some debt. I bet you they might have refinanced when rates were 2 to 3%, like half the planet did 2 years ago. You're going to ask that seller, say, hey, can I assume your loan? Maybe it's 150 grand. So be it. You could take that 150 grand, probably at somewhere in the 3% range, and drop your monthly payment. And then also ask if do the math, right? These are compound calculators that you can download on your iPhone. Download that, see if it works, like it pencils like at $150,000. And I can do the math here real quick for you. Well, let's do it together since I'm on here anyway, and this is getting long. All right, so here's the deal. That seller, he says, yeah, hey, I got a loan for $150K that I don't really need on the deal. If the bank is willing to convert it, which 90% of the time they are, I got a 3.25 interest rate on it. It's a 30-year loan. My payment's like $650 a month. You're like, wow, I'll take that over. And that because you know what the seller wants? They want their price. They need their price, right? Like they want to get your price. They want this deal to work for you. All right. So now we need to get a loan for the other 90 grand. So let's just do a second on the building. Let's do a $90,000 loan. Let's do it at 6.5%. 90K, 6.5, 570 bucks. Let's add both of those up. It is 1,220 bucks. So 1,220 bucks is right in the middle, right? Are we going to make any money? Well, our break even is $1,295. We're actually net positive. And on a duplex deal, it's an appreciation game. It's not necessarily you're going to cash flow like 10%. Like whoever told you is lying to you that you're going to make a ton of money right out of the gate on this. And basically you can take now say we get the deal done with this financing. We're going to clear, what is that? 1,220. All right, the 1,295 minus the 1,220, that's $75. Hey, net positive income. If you haven't had positive income, this can be a big deal. The problem is it's going to be on your 60 grand. So when we figure, we do 75 times 12 to figure out our cash on cash. So we need $75 times 12 months in a year. We get $900 over our initial investment, which is our equity. Equals the cash on cash. Well, in this deal, it's actually better than 0.12. You actually get a 1.5% cash on cash. Well, not good, but positive, but just showing a creative way to get this deal done by assuming the loan. There's other creative things that in this type of deal, I would actually take that 60 grand from that seller and I would say, hey, I don't want to put the 60 grand into the deal because it still doesn't make enough money. Let's do 30,000 and I'll get on the other 30,000. Give me 3 years to pay you back, principal only. So just interest free, right? So because then if we did that, we put our 30 in here. Well, guess what? Everything just doubled, right? Right. Yeah, just checking. So you would get 3% cash on cash. All right, there's so many reasons to invest into real estate, guys. In this example, this provides 1.5% cash back. It's not good, but it's what today's market is bringing us. Do we believe that the inflation of 6% plus right now is going to be more than, are these assets going to elevate? Well, yeah, because our tax elevation is going, our tax is elevated, our insurance is going to get elevated. All our expenses will get elevated, and guess who's going to pay the piper? And it's probably not you, it's probably your tenants, right? Because you're going to be driving rents. You can see that rents are very close in this deal. But this is how, when we're drafting deals up, they're getting a lot better than this right now, to be in the true, honest, like, whoever told you that passive income is going to be the reason that you're going to retire and like how you're going to get in real estate in 2 years and retire happily, that doesn't happen. Real estate has gone through a tremendous amount of appreciation in the last 2 years only because of the money printing that was done. So realize that your home value has skyrocketed in the last 2 years only because they printed money. That is also the best reason to own real estate. Even though this investment only provides a 1.5% cash return, guys, you're riding the wave of inflation. You're owning that asset through a high inflation period, and there's nothing better to own in the last 2,000 years to fight inflation than owning real assets. So remember, your real assets, don't get greedy with the cash on cash. It's not about retiring and making money right now. Make all the money at your job or in your business, but realize that real estate in the long term will provide really good benefits for passive income. Right now, though, guys, you're in the mud. You're stomping away. You're trying to make money to buy the next deal. Don't try to just think like, I'm going to get into real estate, get rich quick. It's not that way. You will get rich for sure. There will be hard days that you probably have to pay money to keep this property. when you're paying out a check for $500 a month or $1,000 a month because you weren't right on your vacancy, that's where it gets painful. But if you hold on to this asset, you keep it full, you keep your tenants happy, man, you can own this one duplex will change the lives of literally millions out there. Like, not everyone is getting into real estate. You're hearing about it a lot, but everyone's like, wow, I'm not doing a deal and I'm making 1.5%. I can go make 4.5% just sitting in a high yield savings account. Hey, that's great, but realize how long-term that is. Can you place money in something like a bond for 10 years and know you're going to get really good returns on your money? No, inflation's freaking 6%. That bond's paying 4.5% temporarily, 1 to 2 years, maybe even less. Realize that real estate is focused on 10-year increments. Just put your brain to that. You will understand that real estate is not the quick and fast game. It's the long endurance play of long-term wealth, generating net worth, letting inflation bring up the valuations for you, and then you guys just bearing with the 1.5%, the lower cash returns. The cash returns will get better over time, but not right away. So guys, I hope you found some of this super helpful. This was my quick breakdown on what you wanted to do. If I can see more comments from you guys, just comment below like, hey, what helps you in this? What do you want to see more detail on? Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. I'm trying to provide all the insights as my entrepreneur journey in real estate has gone. Guys, see you guys in the next one.